Welcome back to the Scenery Farm. I have my sheet of UHMW here, and I'm just cutting it into a smaller piece so I can make some cross cuts with it. These rips of UHMW, I'm making them just under 3/4 of an inch, probably around 16, 17 mil. It's under 18 mil anyway, so just under 3/4 of an inch. And bring the blade down and get my push stick ready, and then I just do a bunch of rips. I'm just finding the cleaner edge. That's the edge that I just cut that I'm putting up against the fence. And you can see that the stop block, or the push stick is getting used up a bit in this process, and that's what they're for. Just cross-cutting them. I think I just eyeballed it. I don't even think I took a measurement. 4.5 inches, something like that. 10 centimeters, 100 mil. Yeah, I'm just cutting those pieces there. I have an angled bed that I've made for my belt sander, or my edge sander rather. Well, it's a belt sander. And I use that so I can sand all the way up and down the 6-inch width of the belt. And you can see at the bottom, even after, this is a crepe block, this is a dressing tool for your belt sander. This is a very old belt. This is the belt I just leave on my sander for, I have to sand this thing and I'm not too worried about it. And you can see at the bottom the white, the creamy stripe there. That's where I let it build up too much, and the heat build up, and that part of the belt is no good anymore. And right now I'm just taking the edge off the feet that will be touching the ground. So there's a little wee chamfer on all of those, and it's just give it a little snick on the edge sander. This is me pre-drilling, countersinking the screws. That's a number 8 pre-drill and countersink bit. It's got carbide cutting heads on the countersink part of it, and the twist, or the jobber bit, 8-inch jobber bit is, or twist bit if you prefer, is replaceable. And I'm just putting 2 holes in there, and I'm just eyeballing the center, and that's what it looks like, chamfered, and that's with the screw in it. You can see the screw, when I tighten it down, will be lower than the plastic, so there's no chance the screw will scratch the floor. This is me placing my back flap hinges, and I'm just using some quick grips to hold them in place while I screw them, just so they're flush with the outside there. And I place the other one, and then I screw them in place. You could use a VIX bit for this, or you could center them by eye. And the 3/4 inch number 8 screws I have are pretty aggressive point, and they do a really good job of staying in the same direction, or staying in the same place that I start them. So I typically, for something like this, will just skip the VIX bit step, or the centering drill bits step, and I'll just pop them in there. And 9 times out of 10, 95 times out of 100, I don't really have a problem with this kind of thing going into this kind of plywood. There are definite times when I use a centering bit. This isn't one of them. But they're great. They're truly a great thing. I finished screwing these in place, and I do all 3 of these with the hinges on this side into the notches. And then I make this little wee jig, which is just a couple pieces of plywood glued and pinned together. It's just a corner block so that I can locate the hinges so they don't overhang on the inside. If I overhang or underhang the hinge, when I go to put it together, it won't either. If it's underhanging, it'll um, disfigure the hinge when I go to screw it into the longer side pieces. And if I overhang it, then I make it wider, and the stop blocks that are on the underside of the lid won't fit snugly in that direction. So this is just a way to help me. I had the outside of the notches on the other pieces to make sure that they fit well. Then I take the hinges, I pop them in here. I have marks on there to keep them down from the top edge. So because the corner block is going to be directly over top of that. You can't see the marks there, but the corner block is going to be directly over top of that hinge. And I want to ensure that the corner block doesn't hit the hinge. Kind of barely see the line there. And so I screw those in place, and there you go. You'll notice in the next part of this process, I've added a bit extension to my bit. I don't know where I put my driver bit, but you can see I've added a bit extension to it when I go, because the side of the drill was knocking up against the jig when I went to screw it in place. And I just had to move the clamp there to rearrange it. I put this in place, I clamp it on one side, then I clamp it on the other side. And then I'm just screwing the corners in for those inside corner hinges. Once that's all screwed in, and move on to the opposite side and then the opposite end. So this is the opposite side, where it's the hinge wraps around the, I'm going to call it a toggle, but it's not really a toggle, the interior piece that goes side to side, and that's me just placing the screw. And you can see how the wood butts right up against the inside of the other piece. And once I got those two screws in, I open it up so I can get at these other two holes in each of the hinges. Pardon. Looking at the other side of this, I rinse and repeat. I do the exact same thing. I just have the hinges kitty corner to one another. They're matched pair. So on my right, where I'm working right now, that is an inside corner, and then opposite on the other side. So when it's all together, it'll accordion out like this, or not accordion, it'll be a little parallel like this. And then I do the corners, I open them up again and make sure I do the inside corners just like last time. I'm going to take my tape, obviously, you can see that, and I'm going to measure, find the center, and then center 18 mil on that, and use a wee square there just to give me a couple square lines. You can see I have my calculator app open on the phone just to make sure I get that centered properly, and then I give myself a little reminder of how many mil it is from the end of the board either side. So I pop that in place. I use the lines to keep it square, but if I'm off a degree here, which either the hinges were a little bit flexy or I was off at least a degree, then when I close it up, the other side won't sit nicely. So once I get these in, before I put the other side in, I actually check it. So with the other side screwed in, I'm doing my centering on the other side, and I can very happily, once I get my center, I do the measurement from the other side just to make sure that the same numbers going the other way, which they would be if centered. I just move that out of the way, do my marks. And one of the concerns I had was because the hinges are on the inside and the outside, and it has been a very long time since I built this style of parallel, um, that I was concerned that to make sure that everything lined up with the hinges on the inside and the outside with the hinge point in a different position, I wanted to double check that it would be dead center on the opposite side. So I close it up here, and you can actually see it's up as it would be if it were a degree off. The hinges have enough flex in them to bring them down. I just give them a little push down, and that will flex the hinge into the right position on the other side. These are not wicked high quality hinges. And what I'm finding here is, what I'm double checking is that the hinge point will actually be centered, because if both ends, if they're the same, and this should be the same height, it should mathematically work out, but it was just a question in my mind, and it was dead on, having the three of them the same length. Because if one of them is not attached, I'm going to go with the word concentrically with the other two, then it won't actually parallel up. It'll mean that they will not just collapse all in line. If it's too near or too far from the right position on the other side, it won't actually fully collapse. So I just wanted to double check that. That's what I was up to there. I screw this in and move on with the rest of the work on this, and the next thing is the feet. And I put the feet on the long ones, 4 of them. That's the foot that had the screw in it for the exemplar that I showed you earlier. I'm just backing it out, using the wood as a bit of a backer to get it out. I am in this instance most definitely going to use a VIX bit, which is a centering bit. You see when you pull that kind of collar back, the pre-drill bit is there. Now, with this being the birch, it is, and having the pre-drill the right size, even though I'm so close to the end, this particular plywood doesn't want to split. For the rest of the feet that I put on, I didn't want to take the chance that it would split, so I actually moved it in about 15 mil more from the edge. I clear it out and have 2 screws, and you can see the screws are lovely in that they're below the surface of the foot and they have enough meat to hold on to. I'll see you all next time.